It's finally Friday. It's Friday, Friday.
Thank God it's
Welcome back to the Friday Show, presented by DRF Bets. I'm Scott Jagow, along with Ray Paulick. So glad you could join us. We're all about the Derby this week, Ray. 3 major preps this weekend, 510 total points on the line. Pretty much after this weekend, besides the Arkansas Derby, this Derby field will be solidified. So let's just go right into the Derby capsule.
Well, before we look ahead to the big races this weekend, let's go back a week to the Florida Derby, Nyquist versus Mohamed. The big match we'd all been waiting for. You had Nyquist, I had Mohamed, and it really didn't turn out to be the race we thought it was going to be at all.
No, it looked like maybe at the top of the stretch we were going to get that battle, but then Nyquist drew away and Mohamed just kind of backed up and it was over. I don't know what excuse Mohamed at this point has. He might have one because he's so talented. Then again, you have to look at Nyquist and just his high cruising speed and his acceleration. He did get out a little bit, which is maybe the distance, but I don't think so. He straightened out and looked fine galloping out after the wire.
I think he was just goofing around the last 16th of a mile. He jumped his leads and when he was drifting. But look, horses don't have to win their final prep to win the Kentucky Derby. We've seen it happen a lot of times before where horses have bounced back off a loss. This could happen. I'm not willing to give up yet on Mohamed, but I have a lot more respect for Nyquist after the Florida Derby than I had before it. I know he was unbeaten, but I wasn't a real believer. I am now.
But being beaten 8 1/4 lengths in your final prep, that just doesn't happen and rebound and win the Derby. In 1995, Thunder Gulch kind of did it at 24-1, but he's really up against it, Mohamed is.
16th left. Here comes Jagow for the final surge. A final surge to win the Gotham.
Gotham Stakes winner Jagow, trained by Chad Brown, is the 2-1 favorite in this field for the Wood. But it's a pretty good field. Ray, who do you like?
The Wood has not been a very good prep race for the Kentucky Derby in recent years. The last winner of the Wood to win the Kentucky Derby was Fusaichi Pegasus. It was back in 2000. The Tampa Bay Derby has actually become a better prep in terms of producing Derby winners, I think. And I'm going with Outwork, the horse that finished second in the Tampa Bay Derby to another Todd Pletcher horse, Destin. He was on the front end that day. He was game down the stretch. I think that race is going to give him, a little confidence. I think he'll come back a better horse. He's going to be tough.
I agree. I really liked his Tampa Bay Derby race. However, they're all going to have to catch Matt King Cole, who, on the same weekend that Jagow won the Gotham, ran the same distance a full second faster, gate to wire. So he is dangerous here. He's trained by Linda Rice, who does very well second off a layoff in graded stakes. Jose Ortiz is on fire, the jockey. So I'm gonna lean toward Matt King Cole to steal this one on the front end.
Brody's Cause and Corey Lannery, a tremendous run.
Well, speaking of a race that hasn't been that productive lately, the Bluegrass Stakes in terms of the Kentucky Derby. The last winner to go on to win in Louisville was Strike the Gold in 1991. Big field of 14. Not sure how deep it is, but how do you see this year's Bluegrass Stakes?
Well, as far as the Bluegrass being a quality prep, a lot of the winners won on Polytrack. That era is over. By the way, Street Sense came out of the Polytrack era with a second place finish, and the Bluegrass went on to win the Derby. So it's had some impact. I see Zulu, the winner of this race. Todd Pletcher and Javier Castellano. The horse is getting blinkers. He finished a good second to Mohamed in the Fountain of Youth. His first race around 2 turns, first time against major competition. He's going to be a much better horse this time around. I think Zulu is going to be a tough customer on the front end, Scott.
Well, he's the favorite in a 14-horse field, and he's going to have a lot of company up front, so no thank you on this one. I'm going to go with a closer. You've got Brody's Cause trying to rebound from his terrible last race. You've got his stablemate Cherry Wine, also a closer, who looks dangerous. But I'm going to go with my man Sam, who admittedly has a bad post, the 14-hole, but he's a deep closer, so it may not make that much difference. And he ran second to Matt King Cole in that optional claimer I talked about and was closing fast and is training like a monster, according to Chad Brown. So I'm going to take a shot with him to upset the Bluegrass. All right, let's move on to the Santa Anita Derby.
Dancing Candy, wire to wire in the San Felipe Stakes, and there's plenty left in the tank.
With Nyquist having won the Florida Derby and Cupid going to Arkansas next week for the Arkansas Derby, Scott, I think the best two California-based horses are missing from the Santa Anita Derby this weekend. That leaves it wide open. I'm going with a rank outsider, Rare Candy. David Hoffman's and Joe Talamo, the same guys who brought you the huge upset at the Santa Anita Handicap this year, are the connections. The horse has been gelded since his last start, a second-place allowance finish, but I think he's going to run a big race on Saturday.
Well, he has had the ultimate equipment change. But I don't love this race, but I think More Spirit is better than Cupid in terms of distance. And so I think More Spirit is being cranked up perfectly by Bob Baffert. It just looks like a Baffert horse. Doesn't have the wow factor, but he's going to be awfully tough as they keep running. So I think More Spirit's going to be tough to knock off in this race, and that's who I'm going with.
Well, Bob Baffert has won the Santa Anita Derby 7 times. He's the morning line favorite to make it 8. We'll see what happens.
All right, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Friday Show presented by DRF Bets. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.